state that we have, an improved state, a bettered state by, of course, the taxpayers' monies. You are still tuned in to Beyond the Grave with myself, Baby Siwu, and Zan Achaga. We did say that we are going to be joined by a contributor to the letter from the president. His name is Twenga Sihle Peter. He is a systems thinker, a writer, and a speaker that's focused on how economics and politics shape the lives and futures of young people. He's joining us to be a part of that conversation. When he came in here, Zan, I was just like, whoa, okay. Yeah. I'm like, hey, breathe.
He was very, very passionate. So passionate.
Breathe. What did you think, Twenga, about the letter from the president? You read it, and what was your initial reaction?
Good day, everyone. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. So when I was reading the letter, right, I want to commend SARS for what they've done. 2.3 trillion rand is not a child's play. But as I was going deeper on the letter itself, I got to see two big issues with how the president drafted everything. One, I saw political manipulation in wording. And then number two, I saw that the president is turning success into a propaganda.
Okay.
And that is a big issue. Let's start with why do I say this is political manipulation in wording, right? So the president says, quoting, "I appointed." That is personal credit. So the president is centering himself as a hero in the Nugent Commission. And this is bad because he's overshadowing the collective engagement for learning from people.
Sure.
And number two, he frames SARS as a whole government blueprint. That is manipulative. Why do I say so? Because it's ignoring the failing SOEs like Eskom. And we see this when he says standard barrier of capable state. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So it's a bit manipulative. And we also get to see that he drops this praise pre-SONA. So we know what SONA is. So it is to low cash because SONA is coming soon in mid-February. So that's also a problem because it's manipulating the glossing inefficiencies of like the 523 billion rand debt that we have. That's a problem.
Yeah. I just want to ask. So, do you think it's not fair, or they don't deserve to take credit for that 2.3 trillion rand? Because as you're saying, that wouldn't be enough. That we have to look at the other different government entities and their performance.
I say SARS was supposed to do this in the first place. Remember, the reason they appointed this commission...
We can't praise a fish for swimming.
Yeah. So the reason they appointed this commission was because of the inefficiencies that were happening during the state capture from 2009 up until 2018. So there was inefficiencies that were persisting with underlying fragilities that were affecting the economy. So it is their responsibility, Kakate, as SARS, to ensure that they do what they did.
But the president is the head of state, so when a state entity excels, obviously he is at the forefront of that. He is the one who appointed. He didn't lie. He actually did that. And we know that people are getting their social grants. You see it every month when the queues are packed and the lines are extremely long. So he is doing exactly what he says he's doing. You know, people are getting their social grants. Some are getting their basic service delivery. So what exactly is the problem? And people are paying tax.
Now, the reason political manipulation is a problem in wording, it leads to what I call turning success into propaganda. Okay. Let me tell you why do I say so. Because the president, with his writing, he is prematurely making a stabilization claim that the economy is stable. That is premature because remember, for us to say an economy is stable, it has to prove itself consistently out of a number of years, minimum of 3 years. And SARS has only done this for 1 year, where we've seen this 2.3 trillion. Yeah. So making a mature statement that the state economy is stable is wrong. And we need to also look into that. Take it as a student. Let me give you an example. Take it as a student, right? We cannot say you're an A student because you have got good marks for one term. That doesn't make you an A student. You have to consistently do that. The economy is stable. That's without us seeing the economy proving consistent, it gets to be a problem. This is also leading to it also leads to the president ignoring the underperforming institutions like the SOEs that we have, because now he's masking the whole thing by making this one reform look like it was the biggest thing ever, while the other underlying fragilities are continuing to persist.
I wanna ask, what do you think it is that SARS is getting right, that the other state-owned enterprises maybe are getting wrong? What is the difference, especially if he's going to call SARS the standard bearer of a capable state? So what does SARS do well that maybe can be applied to the other state-owned enterprises?
I can say compared to the other years, we have less political interference. That is one of the most important things that SARS has done by far. Having less political interference means that SARS can now operate from an independent point of view and make decisions that benefit the state and not political ideologies and political partners.
I just want to ask, what does that look like? What does political interference in SARS look like, and what does less look like? Like in terms of exactly what isn't there now that was there before?
You see, now, what they have now, they have technology on their side. They are trying it out as much as they're getting hacked here and there, but it's working for them because now they can make much more data-driven decisions over just hallucinating. So
Hallucinating.
We didn't just call SARS hallucinating, but okay.
So when a government has a resource that allows them to make data-driven decisions, it puts them at a point where whatever decision they make, it will be in the benefit of the citizens of the country. But when they don't have those certain resources that help them make data-driven decisions, it puts them in a position of vulnerability where they cannot bring long-term reform because they are afraid of bringing short-term reform that might lead to that long-term reform, but would lead to underlying fragilities persisting for some time. That would affect economic demand.
Yeah. And what reforms should we be looking at?
For SARS currently, I would say they should do what they're doing, but they should work on their cyber side of their technology, for example, the e-filing app. I think if they can focus more on ensuring by the technological resources that they have, they're using them efficiently and ensuring that efficiency is leading them to productivity, I think that could lead to SARS having a stronger, consistent growing value. Yeah. And I think with what they've done, this is just a glimpse because we get to see that there are also businesses that are also evading tax. We also see that we have a mass unemployment issue. So with this, we get to see that if ever SARS could, if we could have a better employment state, more businesses paying tax, making sure that the informal sector we have of businesses is also accommodated, I think SARS can make more than what they made. This is just a glimpse. So I think if they invest more on those resources, it could lead to a better state.
I want to actually speak to that. I want to actually speak to those sort of loopholes or sort of ways in which the upper class and the rich can evade tax. Do you think SARS needs to do more in that regard, more than just businesses, but as also individual citizens? Because we often hear these conversations that really, for the most part, the people that are taxed are always the middle class. So do you think that has to be rectified?
And,
yes.
And just to add on that, there have been a lot of calls to add a 10% increase on rich businesses and obviously big businesses. What would an ideal tax increase for those businesses look like?
It would be bad. For example, look at South Africa right now. We have a huge unemployment problem we have with especially majority of the youth, which make majority of the population we have in South Africa. So increasing taxes means those businesses have less income or capital available for them to employ more. So that's a problem. It's the same thing with the informal sector. Us not investing in them creates a problem where the informal sector cannot grow into becoming much more formal to the point where they can employ more. They can create mass employment. So increasing taxes for businesses, as much as yes, maybe it could bring some sort of reform, but it will lead to a higher unemployment rate because now businesses will have to bring in much more automated systems in place and then minimize the amount of people they have employed so that they can maximize their profits. That's basic business mindset.
Something else I also want to ask. We speak of this 2.3 trillion and how that's a lot of money. But I was saying earlier on before you came inside that I kind of have the fear that is not necessarily security and assurance that those funds will be used properly. So at what point do we assess that the improvement in SARS directly translates into an improvement within our infrastructure, within our environments? At what point do we are able to assess that, and also how do we assess that?
That's a great question. We are only going to be able to assess it when all systems are all stabilized, right? As much as stabilization is not really a real term in economics, because you can never have a stable economy, because being stable means it is moving at a straight length and there is no ups and downs, but that's never true. But we can have something close to it. So we need to ensure that SOEs government institutions, departments, they're all working efficiently with one another, coordinating with one another, ensuring that they are all ensuring that they minimize their weaknesses, maximizing their strengths, and taking every opportunity at their hand and minimizing their threats. That is very important, basic SWOT analysis. So I believe if ever we can focus on ensuring, as South Africa, for all our departments, for all our institutions, our SOEs, that we use our strengths that we have to minimize the weaknesses we have, so that we can have more strengths and less weaknesses, which that will lead to more opportunities and less threats in the market. By us doing that, I think we have a better chance of ensuring that we can have a better economy.
But to speak to that question, one might also say, but it's the lack of political will, it's the lack of government actually wanting to do all of these things, because the money has been collected. And we know that when we talk about even collapsing SOEs that are not working efficiently, whether it's municipalities, whether it's, other government departments and ministries and so forth, it's just that they don't have the political will. We can attribute it to corruption and say, no, it's corruption and there's no proper overboard. So what are we missing exactly to make sure that the money that's been collected by SARS that directly translates into improved roads for everybody, proper basic services delivered to every South African? So where's the actual disconnect?
I think let's implement something. Let's call it a blockchain system that would track National Treasury money in real time. Mm-hmm. Make this application accessible to everyone. Make every piece of the rand a piece of the puzzle. Then that means whether from whatever money has been collected from SARS, when we now take out more money from National Treasury, we get to see about where the money goes, to which department, and also forcing politicians and leaders, also close friends, relatives, and so on around them, to all declare offshore accounts, shell companies, the business they have, and everything they have at their disposal, assets and so on. So that that National Treasury money, when it moves to one place to another, that piece of the puzzle is tracked in real time. This means no money can be duplicated or added, nor removed, because everything is a piece of a puzzle. And once this application is available to all citizens of South Africa, it also puts us in a position where we can all help the government to analyze and watch over the system itself. Because let's be honest, yes, alone you can do good, but if you want to go far, you work together. So bring the citizens of South Africa together, allow them to monitor the system together, and I believe we can see inefficiencies in the system faster compared to what is happening currently right now.
Yeah, but what are the bad sides of that? Like, why isn't that happening right now? And also, what could be the potential, pitfalls as well? Because is there no fear that if too much people have too much access to the money and how it's being spent, that could create a bit of a problem?
They have access to monitor. It's like, I'll give you an example with a PDF, right? When you do a PDF, you can have someone who can monitor, execute, and also do then certain changes on the PDF. So it's about giving certain controls to certain people. So once that application is made public to people, it only gives them the ability to only see or look at it, not the ability to act or execute on it. So they are...
I'm asking particularly because you also spoke about those particular officials as the individual accounts, the offshore accounts. So I'm just trying to figure out if that in particular wouldn't necessarily be harmful.
It would. If ever, as much as technology is going to be a revolution for South Africa, if it's unmonitored, it's going to be a problem for us. Why do I say so? Because remember, we have cyber attacks going on right now. So if ever we don't have a good technological infrastructure that is strong enough to ensure that it protects a specific application, then it would lead to us being hacked easily or them manipulating information, that specific application that would lead to the problems we have. That means it will open doors into tax evasion. It will lead doors into moving money silently and playing with the system itself. So technology plays a vital role. Right, but the reason they don't want to bring such reforms is simple. It's because if ever they fix the entirety of the problem now, then there is no use for them. But if ever they bring a short-term fix that will make the economy or make you perceive the economy as stable, it makes you believe that because the economy is stable, the underlying fragilities are not persisting. But they didn't fix the core issue; they fixed the lagging issue. And because the lagging issue is fixed, it continues underneath the surface, continuing underlying fragilities, and that creates new problems. And then they have another problem to fix as a government. So once they bring real reforms that would take the economy forward, they are just afraid that those reforms, they won't lead to them being needed or them having value in the market.
It can't be corrupt anymore. Also, but I think what I'm getting from you, not necessarily the app side of it, but I'm getting having proper accountability boards in place, right? It doesn't have to be a technology that, you know, people have access to, because I do believe that, you know, it will infringe on your Poppy, you know, act, and it will infringe on your privacy, because everybody is entitled. You don't need to know my offshore accounts. If I do have them, I do have them. You know, they're mine. It's my bank account. You don't need that. But if they have proper, you know, accountability measures in place within government, and maybe release quarterly reports to say, okay, this is where we are, this is what we flagged, this is what we've seen. Actually, kind of into the idea of an accountability board. But I don't know, would it be independent of the government? Because that's another thing. We have a lot of accountability and oversight boards that are supposed to, you know, oversee state-owned entities and oversee all of these different commissions. You know, a commission will have will be opened to inquire on something, but there'll be an overboard on that actual commission. So we are seeing all of these overboards, accountability boards, but we're not seeing much of a difference. So what would that look like? Proper accountability, because if it's still a board within government, then political interference that you spoke of earlier is bound to happen. But also, even if it's independent, we don't know what people are thinking. So how can we make sure that it's functional and effective?
Let's look into the Panama and Pandora papers, which were leaked, right? We get to see...
But okay.
Pandora's box.
So we have what we call the Pandora and Panama papers, right?
Okay.
Which was what led to the Zondo Commission being brought forward, because they found evidence against Jacob Zuma's nephew, which is Kulubose Zuma. He was evading tax. So he used haven companies, which haven companies are usually found in Mauritius, Luxembourg, Virgin Islands, and so on. So he used offshore accounts to move money out of South Africa, and ensure that by using offshore accounts, moving money out of South Africa, it went to a tax haven. Tax havens is a country where you get to see there is no tax or less or smaller taxable income from whatever you have made. So that means if ever he takes money out of South Africa and moves it there, he's going to be taxed less in that side. And how do they do this? And sometimes law allows this to happen. It's because law does allow that if ever the head company is, let's say, is from Mauritius, then that company therefore taxes to be paid there. Cool, yeah. So that means work can be done in South Africa, resources can be extracted from South Africa, we can use South African people to do the work.
But also that's external even, because we're talking about, you know, accountability measures that are internal. How do we maintain our sovereignty when we will have, you know, a board that is that side and we're here already? We're creating more problems for a problem we're trying to solve.
It's policies. Policies have loopholes. I'll give you a basic example. Look into the housing policy, right? It was Judge Jacob did show that he did make a statement in court saying that in 2000 that if ever the city can only build houses with available resources, that's a loophole. So we get to see with the policies we have in South Africa, they have a lot of loopholes involved, and politicians and leaders have seen these loopholes, and they're using those loopholes to do all these things.
Yeah, but we can't be, you know, creating more loopholes and hope that the state will be able to guarantee that they won't collapse the country and they won't collapse the systems that we have. But we don't have more time. Love to go for
what
more,
a conversation.
But it's 2 minutes past the hour of 10. Forgive us for being late with your news. We are about to play them now. That was Utenga Sihle, Peter, who was contributing to the letter from the president.